Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I would like to call this meeting to order for May 18th, 2023, the TPA Governing Board meeting. Staff, could you please call the roll so that we can establish our quorum?
Yes, Madam Chair. At this time, I'm only asking those board members attending in person to respond by saying here when I call your name. As a reminder, you can unmute your microphones by pushing the button on the base prior to responding. Alternates, please also state your name if you are attending on behalf of a TPA board representative. Steve Wilson.
Here.
Yvette Drucker.
Here.
Fran Naklis. Here. Angela Cruz.
Here. In place of Woodrow Hay.
Shelley Petrolia. Here. Joel Flores.
Present.
Jim Koretsky.
Here.
Ronaldo Diaz.
Here.
Joni Brinkman. Here. DeAndre Poole.
Here.
Greg Weiss.
Here.
Marcy Woodward.
Here.
Maria Sachs. Mac Bernard.
Here.
Shirley Lanier. Fred Pinto. Michael Napoleon.
Here.
Christy Fox. Here. Joseph Peduzzi.
Here. Here.
Maria Marino. And Chelsea Reed.
I am here. Thank you so much, Melissa. We're going to go ahead with the invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. We've asked Mayor Wilson to please give us the invocation today. And following that, we'll stand for the pledge. Thank you.
Let us pray. Oh, Heavenly Father, we come to you once again with bowed heads and humble hearts. Thank you as always for your grace and your mercy. Realizing, Father, that over and over again, that through your grace and your mercy, you've been better to us than we've been to ourselves. And with that, we say thank you. Thank you, Father, for never asking us to handle life challenges without your help or the help or support of others. Father, we ask your continued spirit to empower us to shine during our time of darkness and humble us during our time of needs. Father, we ask that your love and grace be evident in our word and deeds today. And finally, Father, we ask a special blessing for our chairperson. Father, you know our heart, and all of us whom you have allowed to be assembled here today, realizing that we're no strangers to each other, just perhaps friends we have not yet met. We give you all the praises and the glory. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wilson. Moving along, we're going to see, are there any modifications to our agenda today?
No, Madam Chair.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm seeking a motion to adopt the agenda, please. All right, I have like 6 motions. I'll take one of those and then a second, please.
Who was the motion
Yeah,
by?
I think I heard Joelle the loudest.
Joelle, and second?
And then my second.
Second.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Yvette. All right, do we have anyone who would like to participate remotely?
No, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you so much. All right, board, are there any objections to allowing, well, we don't have anybody, so we won't go for that. Let's see. So we also have instructions to provide public comment today. They're included in the agenda. And staff, do we have any general comments that have been received today?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so do we have any comments that would like to come from our chair? Oh, lovely. Okay, so if you have a comment you'd like to share, put your card up, please, and we'll go around the room. Go ahead, Yvette Drucker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're just wanted to give a quick update. The city of Boca Raton held their strategic planning goal sessions last week. And I'm so excited that the mayor and the council adopted as one of their priorities for next year mobility and connectivity. Really good conversation around transit, multimodal, great discussion, very strategic. So I'm really excited for what's to come in that avenue. And in addition to that, we're also going to add to our budget to become a NACTO city, something that I'm really excited about as well. So I just want to give that little update. Thank you.
That is absolutely excellent news. Thank you for sharing it. All right, Commissioner Falk, I see you have your card up.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to let everyone know, I'm sure you're familiar with the big red trolleys that go around downtown West Palm Beach. The contract for those trolleys will be expiring on May 31st, and we have decided to move forward with a pilot program for the next year to 2 years, using circuit cars going downtown. I'm sure you've seen them, the kind of golf carts that are driving around, but I hear so many good things about them. I think the only thing that people have to say that there's just not enough of them. So we are going to use this time to have a pilot program to see how the on-demand service works as opposed to the trolley. I think the trolley was fantastic when it first got started. It was helping us to connect City Place at the time to the rest of downtown, but now we have better lighting, better connections, Uber and Lyft, and things like that. So the trolley has just not been utilized the way it used to be. So I'm very excited about this new pilot program. We're also going to have what we're calling an equity zone in West Palm Beach, that we have a very similar service called Rose Trolley that will be utilized in our in the historic Northwest, Pleasant City, Coleman Park, some of our underserved neighborhoods where there's not a lot of transportation options, and there's also not a lot of grocery stores and things like that. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to give people the opportunity to get to their essential services, as well as helping people in the downtown area get out of their car. So actually the pilot program will go as south as almost to Belvedere, Pig Beach, which I know is really popular in West Palm Beach, and then it will go to 25th Street. So just wanted to let everyone know we are actually having 2 outreach events. One is tonight at 5:30 at City Hall, and on Saturday morning, May 20th at 9 a.m. If anyone wants to learn more. And this is something that will come up for a vote in about 2 weeks at the City Commission. So just wanted to let everyone know. I know that most of you don't live in West Palm Beach, but many of you work downtown. So you might utilize Circuit, and now it'll just be a little bit more quick to get when you're calling them, and just letting any of your constituents know who might be also working downtown. Thank you.
Excellent. That is really exciting. Well, and please, depending on how that goes, after your meeting, keep us posted on it, perhaps some reports here and there, because I know a lot of us are looking at similar mobility on demand within our municipalities and in the county. And so you guys are doing a great job giving us a sample. Okay, super. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to move on to Mayor Koretsky, and then Vice Mayor Napoleon. So Mayor Koretsky.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to touch on a topic that we've had great dialogue about the last 2 meetings, and I'm doing this in way of trying to create understandings about Jupiter's plight. We are embarking on the TPA on our new update of our long-term plan. And I take very seriously and responsible that it's a cost feasible plan. In years past, I in fact contributed to the removal of a bridge across the intercoastal because it wasn't cost effective. So the significance of the change that we made in ballot requirements for FDOT is going to have some real repercussions, because at least that's my perception and concern, because you then can rationalize something doesn't need to be spent as long as you fall within a new, performance metrics. So just as in a way of, again, understanding, Jupiter has marginal connectivity with mass transit. Going to the bridge, and we had gotten this recently, a list of the bridges with the lowest ratings. 3 of the top of the lowest rated bridges in the county owned by the state were in Jupiter. 1 is being replaced. The other 2 don't need to be replaced. I never wanted to get to the point they have to be replaced, but they need to be maintained. So please understand that I encourage you all to make sure you don't have bridges like that in your community that might get neglected. Because again, I'm serious. We don't want it replaced. We don't want it to get to the condition like the one did, and it has to be replaced, because that's extraordinary impacts. And then the next topic on reliable person miles traveled in a non-interstate national highway system. I encourage everybody here, every elected official, to look at the scope of roadways, those type of roadways in your jurisdiction. Are you happy with them? Indian Town Road, which is one of those roadways, for years had been the most congested 6-lane roadway in the county. We didn't want it to be widened to 8 lanes. So we have reasonable expectations, but we have wanted to address intersection improvements, which is something I learned from West Palm many years ago, sitting here that you look at intersections because they're typically the critical link. So we've had it as a priority project for the TPA for 3 years to do a study on what can be done at the most congested intersection, and FDOT is yet to fund it. So, I'm kind of fearful that what's happening here, and if you don't even fund a study for what should be done, then you don't even get it in the plan to do it. And yet this is and the county also at one time had a project there as well, and it's fallen off the radar screen. So I want everybody to understand as we go forth, those accepted significantly lower criteria. I objected to them because they have significant potential consequences to the town that are real, that affect us today. And I'm going to continue to advocate. I'm just trying to, create understanding, because look in your own municipal, jurisdictions, whether it be a county commissioner, or see if you have roadways like that. And then you may decide that, yes, we need to make an issue of that so it doesn't get lost. It should be intolerable to, totally neglect level of service, which is what I'm concerned about. Anyway, that was it. Thank you.
I appreciate your comments. I'm going to ask Valerie to mention something that we've been working on.
Thank you, Mayor Koretsky. And we are working with FHWA and FDOT to come down and have a workshop. We're looking at August 17th. We don't usually have a meeting that month, but that's the date that works for them. So that morning, we'll be sending out information soon, but to have them come and do a deeper dive on those national highway system performance measures. And as part of the LRTP long range transportation plan update over this next year, we will be looking at all of the performance measures and having everyone's input as part of that process before we adopt in December of next year. And we've also followed up with FDOT and looking, talking to them and the county in terms of the status of a study on Indian Town Road as well. So we'll be following up soon on that. Thank you.
Right. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. I think we're going to do a really good job with follow-up and clarity from there. So we're going to move on to Vice Mayor Napoleon, and then to Commissioner Poole, and then to Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to take a quick moment to brag about my village. Why not? As you all know, we adopted a complete streets policy this past year, and Smart Growth America and the National Complete Street Coalition evaluated and ranked over 150 policies that have been adopted since 2019. And the Village of Wellington ranked first in Florida and sixth in the country with our complete streets program. So I want to give kudos to our staff who drafted it, and all the people that are going to help implement it, so it can be done. So if you haven't adopted one yet, do it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations, Wellington. It's a big deal.
If I may, I want to also jump in, and that's amazing. I know that I presented to the Visions Summit, and we came to the council. Thank you, Vice Mayor Napoleon, for your leadership and championing that through, and to your staff. Village manager, I know Michael Adele's no longer there, but he played a key part too. And so proud to have, again, back in a few years ago, Delray Beach was also ranked in the top nationally, but amazing now too in our county municipalities that have been ranked in the top 10 nationally for best complete streets policies. So great job. And I know Wellington was our community champion award winner for Safe Street Summit as well. So really setting a great example for all of our municipalities.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to Commissioner Poole, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just want to say that I attended the MPO training in May, early part of this month, and it was very informative in Tampa. And I know Commissioner Diaz was there as well. So it was great networking with other leaders from across the state. And, as we progress along, we'll get an opportunity to see what some other MPOs are doing. So I think that here in Palm Beach County, we're in good shape in comparison to some other places. And at some point in the near future, I'd like to invite our executive director from the Port of Palm Beach here to just give an overview of the things going on at the port. So we have a lot of projects and a lot of exciting things that are taking place. So I think it would be good for this group to hear some of that.
That would be great. So I see our executive director writing that down. So that means it will happen. So we appreciate that. And so we're going to go on to Commissioner Woodward, and then we'll head on to Mayor Weiss after that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I guess be a bit of a downer today. We've just had our third fatality on a bicycle in Boca in as many months. And I had a few constituents reach out to me. And one actually sent a GoPro video of a bicycle trip from Southwest 18th Street, starting at Boca Rio and then going east, and showing how the bicycle lane that exists at one point kind of gets smaller and then comes into almost nothing, which is where one of the fatalities just happened. So, and I know that we have Camino Real is going to have a connection. It's in the 5-year plan, which at this point, 5 years from now, for people who are dying one a month at the moment, seems like an eternity. And it's an interesting part for me to be able to come here, because as a county commissioner, and yeah, you know, we all know we have county roads, we have city roads, we have state roads. But with this particular organization, we're able to talk about the complete plan. So I guess my question, my request at this point is what can be done maybe to expedite some of these areas that are particularly dangerous for cyclists? And, you know, how can we come together as a group and not be so much, you know, oh, city does this, county does this, because at this point, the people don't really care whose road it is. They just know that they're trying to travel from point A to point B. And what can we do to facilitate that? I've had them reach out asking about green paint. And I realize I'm wearing green today, as a few areas that can help. But some of these roads don't even have a bike lane at all. It's just like that little section on the other side of the white line. And that's where one of the fatalities just happened. So I guess I know we have this coming up forward, but I would like to have some answers to be able to give people relatively quickly on some of this, because I mean, one a month right now is terrifying. So you could.
If I may. Thank you so much. I'm so sorry to hear about the fatality. I will say that we have our transportation alternatives program, which the funding is 3 years out. We are working for the Southwest 18th Street. It's not yet reflected, but it will be in the next tip. We are working with FDOT and the city of Boca Raton to prioritize and expedite a project that was originally applied for fiscal year 28 for local initiatives. That is 5 years out. But we were able to find funding in an earlier year, I believe it's 26, that I'm looking at Christine. Yeah, we're working to fund it as soon as possible, a shared use path, and working collaboratively with the MOU between the city and SFRTA to cross over the tracks. So that's in the works. In terms of Camino Real, that's also a transportation alternatives project being that the county just applied for. It's a county road, and that is also being prioritized to be funded in 3 years. So I know it's not as soon as possible, but every time there's a project that's being touched, and we have in the back, it's in the backup of the agenda, but we do provide the list of projects of everything that's coming up, like hitting the ground. We are looking at everything and trying to work with the county and FDOT, the local roadway owners, to fix those situations, to stripe to the conflict zones with green paint, to stripe the sidewalk, the bike lanes, and connect sidewalks. So it's a moving target. Obviously, we have over, I don't know, I think it's over 1,200 or 1,400 miles of roadways. And so we can't do one big sweep, but those two that you mentioned, there are on the way. So, and I know Councilmember Drucker has her card up, but she's championed Vision Zero in the city of Boca Raton, and there's a Vision Zero action plan that also she's championed to be in the work program. So they're looking at, in terms of Boca, the city, citywide, an action plan to tackle a lot of these issues.
Thank you so much, Valerie. All right, we're going to move on to Mayor Weiss, and then we'll go to, do you want to go ahead, Yvette? Sorry.
Sorry to skip you guys, but yes, we're very sorry. We heard about the fatality. I can tell you last week, we had a lot of discussion about mobility and connectivity. And obviously, Valerie just mentioned, we did approve the resolutions last council meeting for these grants for the shared bag. So that's part of that was done last week. But yes, with our championing Vision Zero, that was talked about a lot last week in terms of what's to come in that action plan. But we all know it's going to take 12 to 18 months to get the action plan in place. But what I say to the residents is continue to providing the feedback to us, because that's what we want. We want the public input so that we can have a good plan in place. But it's one of our priorities, and we're really focused on keeping our residents safe. And we look forward to working with the county on, because some of the roads are shared.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and some of this actually goes into unincorporated Boca too. So I just want to make sure that just because the city limit ends on some of these, that we continue the connectivity into the western parts of our city.
And just another plug, if we do have our comment map, it's palmbeachtpa.org comment-map, but we have the cards in the front. Feel free to promote that. I know several of you do. Mayor, our chair promotes it in our newsletter. That's countywide. People can drop a pin and a comment, even though we're not an authority or own any of the roadways. We follow up with the roadway owner and look at to see what's happening and provide that feedback from the constituents. Thank you.
And I usually wait to speak until everyone's spoken, but I would like to summarize this discussion. So in the city of Palm Beach Gardens, we have worked really, really hard to provide connectivity for our pedestrian facilities and our bicycle facilities. And we've done some studies to see where the fatalities, where the crashes are actually happening. And so what we did was our plan showed where these events were happening. And so we have applied for several grants through the TPA, which we are now in the process. This summer, we're putting in 12 pedestrian crossing facility signs at our local school area on Holly Drive, where we have a lot of schools. So that's one of our first grants coming through. And then we have other ones that you're going to see around the Gardens Mall. You're going to see it by the library. We're doing it around anywhere that allows people to connect. What happens though, is that when we do the studies, our city roads in Boca's defense as a city, and not to dump on the county, our city roads are not where the fatalities and crashes are happening. They are happening on the county roads and they are happening on the state roads. And I'm happy to provide the data that the city did to show that. But here's the thing, two things. Number one, if you go onto the TPA website, when you go onto the interactive map, there's a little button you can click that shows bicycle and pedestrian facilities. And literally you can map through and see where it stops, because there'll be a little green line where there's what we need to have a safe bicycle route or a safe pedestrian route. And then it turns red, right? And so the data is pretty much already there on the TPA map, and we can utilize that, because what's the point of Palm Beach Gardens fixing, 15 roads so that a cyclist can get somewhere, but then the second they cross onto a county road or they cross onto a state road, they can't get to the next place. Right. So it falls to this group. So I'm so delighted that you are taking it onto your shoulders to say, well, let's connect these now safer city roads and municipal roads to the county roads that we do need to improve on, and then the state roads as well. And so utilization of TPA grants will help with that a tremendous amount, and utilization of what's already available. And the TPA comment map, it really does work. I've had residents put something in and say, there's a sidewalk right here. It's really, really dangerous. And within a few months, it was repaired. So that, so again, it falls on us and it falls on our residents, but the key is to connect them together, right? Go ahead.
And just one last thing, the county, about half of the roadways in this county are owned by the county. The county has applied and was awarded just recently a Safe Streets for All grant. So they're going to create a plan, but there's also funding available over the next, it's a 5-year, the infrastructure bill we're in year 2 now, $1 billion a year for doing action plans and for infrastructure projects. Once you have an action plan, so there's money available for quicker things that the county's on the way with that action plan and applying hopefully every year to those grants. So it doesn't necessarily only have to come through the TPA, which is 3-5 years out. There's money available now for Safe Streets. And the next deadline is July 10th, but it's a lot of money for safety improvements, and the county's working towards that as well.
All right, that's actually a great discussion. Thanks guys so much. And Mayor Weiss, thank you for your patience.
No problem. I'll make this brief. Just a couple of things to update you on. One is in conjunction with the town of Palm Beach and the city of West Palm Beach, the county submitted a letter to the Coast Guard requesting limited bridge openings during rush hour, morning and afternoon. Also an update on our LNA airport, that's the airport in Lantana. We are undertaking a safety assessment study. The county is going to be funding that. The FAA had declined funding for this, but we're going to move forward with it. That is, it ties in with the recent allowance of jets now being able to utilize that airport. And so, as you know, jets fly at faster speeds than primarily that airport is single engine and helicopters. So, and then the other thing is after we've moved forward and rescinded our jet ban there, the FAA now is allowing the Part 150 noise study to move forward as well. And then last thing is a request to TPA that something that's been on my agenda is what's called adaptive signal technology, which we do not utilize here in Palm Beach County, is to potentially maybe bring in some of the vendors and let's look at this technology and see if I believe there's application to be had here in Palm Beach County. And I'd love to have the opportunity for everybody to see what these technologies are, how they work, and how effective they are.
Excellent. I'm really enjoying this conversation this morning, guys. This is great. We should just have a conversational meeting occasionally. Thank you so much, Mayor Weiss. Just two last things. I think that's it for cards. I see some green today, as we all know. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So let's make sure, thank you all for wearing green. It's a Go Green Day today. Let's thank those who care for us. Remember to care for ourselves, and especially thank those who take care of those in our community who need a little bit of help. And we all do in the end. So that's that. And then lastly, I do want to mention, you'll be hearing a lot of folks in our municipalities being awarded Home Rule Heroes. I think we have a couple here this morning as well. And so these are people who showed up for the legislative meetings in Tallahassee and beyond that stood up for home rule, and we appreciate all of you. I know you're all being humble and no one's raising their hands, but congratulations on that. I see our League of Cities is here, so thank you for all you do. All right, let's move on. Thank you so much. So we are going to do we have any other items? Yeah, I'm trying to see. Yep, so let's move on to the director's report.
I would also like to share for the record that Councilwoman Lanier has joined the meeting.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for all your comments and input. Great discussion. I want to highlight that it is National Bike Month, and this is National Bike to Work Week with National Bike to Work Day tomorrow. So there's a lot of things going on nationally about that. Hopefully you're promoting this in your municipalities, but the link to find out more is bikeleague.org/bike month. The TPA is also conducting a Bike Month survey, which is another opportunity to provide us input and feedback. So please take that survey, share it. We have it in Spanish and in English. Please share your input by May 31st. Also, I know a few of you have been promoting this as well, and thank you. The bicycle-friendly designations, this is something that we try to promote because it encourages more ways to become more bicycle-friendly, not only as a community, but as a business, as a university. And the bicycle-friendly business designation deadline is June 15th. The TPA is a bicycle-friendly business. And then bicycle-friendly community is August 30th. So please keep that in mind and promote it. We'd love to see more communities and businesses being bicycle friendly. National Dump the Pump Day is next month on June 15th. We will be doing a proclamation, but also PalmTran and SFRTA will be doing promotions to ride transit. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be sharing that in our new e-news, social media, and would love for you to also take transit and hashtag National Dump the Pump Day. Share with us any pictures and we'll share them at our next board meeting in June. Also yesterday, Brightline announced that tickets are now on sale. Service will be starting late summer. I've heard for sure, hopefully September 1st, but maybe they move that up, but very exciting. We're very excited to have that connection and that option all the way from Miami to Orlando. So big news there. The TPA is also doing a safety pledge. We have some at our sign-in table, but you could also take it online. Please take this pledge and share it. It just raises awareness of acknowledging and being safe, not only as a pedestrian bicyclist, but also as a driver. I wanted to highlight a few months ago, we did two workshops for we called them the intermodal coordination workshops for downtown here in downtown West Palm Beach. There's a lot going on and a lot of different players in terms of development and transportation. So we brought all the players together. We had we tried to get as much information as we could and also get their feedback on how can we coordinate better between private, public, roadway owners and developers. And we shared that report online. So if you'd like to take a look at it, it's available on our website. The link is provided here. And the next steps for that. Also, Palm Tran is doing some demonstrations for the latest technology in battery electric buses. And they would like to invite all of you to participate if you're able to attend. So I've provided Christian Londano's email here, but the next ones are going to be on May 24th and then on June 6th, and this is at their Delray Beach facility. So please join them if you can. Also, very exciting news for our region, South Florida Regional Transportation Authority. They were just awarded a $71.7 million grant to replace 24 passenger rail cars. This is through the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law Rail Vehicle Replacement Program, the TPA. We provided a letter of support for that grant, so we're very excited for that, and great news there. I know our new executive director, Dave Deck, is working hard to refresh and rebrand the whole system. So very, very exciting. And just a reminder, the USDOT has a grant navigator tool that shows resources on how to find grants, how to apply for them. They're also hosting a webinar on May 22nd, also walking folks through how to apply. And I just listed just a couple of the upcoming grants that are maybe of interest to your communities. Charging and fueling infrastructure grant for public accessible electrical vehicle charging stations. Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program, the one I mentioned, which is not only for planning, but also for infrastructure grants. A lot of funding available there. The next deadline is July 10th. And finally, promoting resilient operations for transformative, efficient, and cost-saving transportation protect grant program. This is for projects that improve resiliency on our transportation system, and that deadline is August 18th. So that's just a few of the highlights I wanted to share.
Excellent. Thank you, Valerie. Do I have any of my board members that have a comment in relation to the director's report? I see Commissioner Fox, and then we'll go to Koretsky.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to clarify what you had said earlier about the Safe Streets grant. I know the county received a grant. We did in West Palm. I think Boca, others did. So you're saying though that even if we received it in the last go round, we could still apply for something else the second round?
Yeah, so there's two categories, and there's an annual call for applications. One is for planning, and that's to create a safety action plan. But several municipalities received that, including West Palm Beach and Boca. But there's also infrastructure grants, so annual call for infrastructure. So obviously, if you already received a grant for an action plan, probably won't apply for that. But now you can apply for the infrastructure grants.
Excellent question. All right, Mayor Koretsky, please.
I just want to say thanks for sharing about this navigator and particularly the charging and fueling infrastructure. I know I can go online and ask and look, and I will. But curiously, we did that on our town site many years back when it was a novelty. And we found that the grant still binds us to offer it free. So I sure hope that as it's no longer novelty, and we are proceeding, we're doing some major changes in our town governmental center, and we're going to include some in, but that grant makes it incumbent to offer it free. That would be a worthless grant. So I hope that's not the case, but I just wanted to draw people's attention to that because that was a grant requirement in the past.
Good to know. All right, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to take that challenge though, dump the pump, but you'll get a picture of me on public transportation in the next month. So I challenge everybody. We've got 21 elected officials here. Let's get on the bus. Let's get on the train. Let's get on the circuit. Let's get out there. All right, so we're going to be moving on to our consent agenda. Do we have anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda today? All right, so hearing none, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda, please. All right, we have Mayor Flores, and can I get a second from Vice Mayor Napoleon? That sounds great. Before we go forward, I do want to take a moment to thank anyone who is going to be serving on our advisory committees. Those are usually on consent. It's a big deal though, right? So as someone who used to be on the Citizens Advisory way too long ago, I remember the day that my name was on that consent agenda and I was so hopeful. So sometimes it's not very exciting to have it just go by. So thank you to everybody who is on VSAC, who is on our TAC, who's on our Citizens Advisory, as well as our TD LCB. It takes time and we appreciate your public service. So moving on, we are, my page. We don't have any action items, so we're going to move on to our information items, which is our draft fiscal year 2024 to 2028 Transportation Improvement Program. Excited to invite Andrew, our TPA Deputy Director of Programs, will be presenting on this item, and this will be a very thorough presentation. This is a great time for you guys to ask questions if you have any desire for further clarity about the tip. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. So we'll be going through the first draft of our upcoming transportation improvement programs. This is our next 5 years of funding for products, federal and state in our county. This is the draft. So we'll take all the review of this and the comments, and then the committees will provide their final recommendation next month, and you all have final adoption next month. I'll begin operating July 1st. So to get more in detail, what is the Transportation Improvement Program? As I mentioned, it's a 5 years, fiscal years coming up. We're currently operating 23. So this is going to cover 24 all the way to 28, and includes a list of projects by phase and by funding source. And it's really focused on the federal and state funds that are coming to our area for you all to approve. And so getting to this point in the process, it has been a long process with the committees and the board involved throughout. It really starts with our call for projects. We take projects from the long range transportation plan. We also have those competitive grant programs. Those are submitted, vetted, move on to those into the list of priority projects that are then submitted to FDOT. And then with that, FDOT looks at their statewide needs, the district needs, our needs as well, and then provides their draft tentative work program. That is reviewed and endorsed by the governing board. And then we're here with that final version of the work program, creating the Transportation Improvement Program. So what was provided back in December of 2022 when it comes to these products, very little has changed from that version to the version you're seeing today for final adoption into the tip. So each product in the work program, it's going to be either in let's say our current fiscal year 23 or the upcoming 24 to 28. And then you'll also see something that shows outside of 2028. So that's any phase that's going to be happening in the future. And so each product in the work program in our tip may have various phases throughout the program. And for example, some of these larger scale products, think of I-95 projects, Turnpike projects, Atlantic Avenue. These are products that are going to have more complex schedule, right? So it might start with an initial study, get into a design, which could take 2 years. Then it may have right-of-way acquisition, utilities and environmental work, and then it'll be set for construction. So these projects can happen over the time frame of the tip or even further out than just 5 years. And then some of the smaller ones in the program, such as ones that are in our Transportation Alternatives Program, these are ones that don't require right-of-way acquisition, not as detailed in the review. So these are able to have a shortened time frame. So that's why you see those transportation alternatives happen 3 years out for construction, because you can start in design in year 1 and then have construction in year 3. This is also true for other products such as resurfacing jobs. So a lot of the resurfacing jobs are within the right of way, and those will have a shorter time frame as well. So when you look through the Transportation Improvement Program, we've broken it down into different sections throughout. So the full document will have all these sections in there. That first section I want to talk about is really the TPA priorities. So these are the ones that are adopted into our list of priority projects by the governing board. And this includes those major products, mostly on state roadways, also through our state road modifications program. It's our local initiatives program, and then our transportation alternatives program. And then there's the major products from FDOT and other municipalities in the county. And so with those is the strategic intermodal system. That's our major roadway network here in the county, includes I-95, Turnpike, Southern, Beeline. So those are major capacity products on that state system. Other smaller FDOT projects, we also try to include the local products that are submitted to us, which I'll have a request for you all by the end of the presentation. There's sections on our other facilities, airports, railroads, and seaport when it comes to federal and state funds for those, and then our operations and maintenance. And so at the beginning of the document and what was provided in the executive summary, you'll see these summary tables for our list of priority projects. This is the same format that is shown for the list of priority projects, the draft tentative work program, and then in the tip to make it easier to understand and follow it through the process. And so with this list, it's the major products, the state road modifications, the local initiatives, and the transportation alternatives. And you'll see it based on when it was the year it made into the priority list, what priority it was for that year, how it's showing for the programming right now on the tip, and then what funding is still needed. And so getting into what specifically is in the next 5 years for Palm Beach County, $3.1 billion of federal and state funding for Palm Beach County alone. So I have it broken down here by the sections that are in the TIP document. It is skewed here. You can see at the top that major one is the strategic intermodal system capacity projects. So again, those are those I-95 projects, Southern Boulevard. But the main ones that you see for SIS capacity are I-95, and then we've broken it down, but the blue there is for Turnpike, the darker blue, and that's taking up a bulk of the funding there. And that's Turnpike funds that are dedicated towards the Turnpike, but it is showing a huge investment in the Turnpike, and I'll show sort of what that looks like in a few slides. The next 3 programs are our state road modifications, our local initiatives, and transportation alternatives, and then you can see the other programs in there. Just one other note to highlight. You'll start to see more local funds when it comes to operations and maintenance of both the roadway system, the transit system, right? So a lot of that responsibility for operations and maintenance does fall more towards the state and local funding. So getting into those sections, a little bit more details. The first one, strategic intermodal system. Again, those major roadways in the county maintained by the state. Huge investment in the Turnpike, $1.2 billion, and then almost $500 million on I-95 interchange projects. So that's either a total rebuild of those interchanges, or there may be some ramp improvements or other operational improvements at those. And so getting more into those specifically, here's those ones on the I-95 visually for you. It starts from north to south, and then we provide the fiscal year. So anything before fiscal year 24, that could be ongoing right now or already completed. So a lot of the design work is either completed or ongoing for many of these interchanges throughout the county. And then you can see what's happening in the next 5 years by phase. So lots of construction coming up for I-95 interchanges in the next 5 years. As I mentioned, this is around $500 million coming to the county in the next 5 years for this. But I've also noted some of the ones that are relevant right now. Hot topic is DDIs. So we just had the Glades Road interchange DDI open up. There are 4 other ones for concept out there: 45th, 10th Ave, Lantana Road, and Hypoluxo. Okay, and then I'll move on. It's very similar visual, but this one's for the Turnpike products. Most of these, instead of being the interchanges, are mostly widening, but significant widening happening throughout the Turnpike. You can see a lot of the design is starting up here soon in the next year, 2024, and then construction's happening throughout the next 5 years and then into outer years, so past 2028. So that's the summary for some of those major strategic intermodal system projects. I did want to highlight some of the priorities of the TPA through our programs. So we have $235 million programmed in the TIP for our priorities. And this is just a highlight of some of the major investments that we have prioritized and programmed. The first one, roadway capacity, $103 million showing for programs in that. A lot of that is the Atlantic Avenue widening, and then also a phase of the State Road 7. I just want to note that both those include pedestrian bicycle facilities out there. And then next is $84 million in standalone pedestrian bicycle facilities. Those are ones that are submitted from the locals. A lot of the ones that you've discussed going through our local initiatives and transportation alternatives program. That's a lot of those. Tri-Rail rolling stock, $13 million. So just received a huge grant, federal grant through the IIJA. We've also invested in Tri-Rail rolling stock, and so did our partner agencies in Broward and Miami-Dade. So you're going to see a lot of significant investment in that in the next few years. Rolling out new stock. $10 million in lighting, electric buses and charging stations for PalmTran, transit shelters for PalmTran, and then traffic signals. So just getting more into the details of highlights for those 3 programs. State road modifications. Again, you'll see, just like in the draft 10 of war program, the State Road 7-1 delayed out to 2028 or beyond 2028 for those 2 sections. Ongoing litigation with those. Then there's the Atlantic Avenue projects, still on schedule for fiscal year 24 for that western portion from State Road 7 to Lyons Road. Then the eastern portions on schedule, but coming in a few years later on after that. Next one is Okeechobee Boulevard corridor study. So we just completed this past year that major corridor study along State Road 7 onto Okeechobee, going from Wellington Mall to downtown West Palm Beach. The results of that study and the alternative moving forward for that are going to be assessed by FDOT. So they're going to do their own feasibility study, and that's scheduled for fiscal year 2025. And then no update yet on this last one, but FDOT's already working towards a study on a US 27 connector out in the Glades community. There's a preliminary study that was being ongoing right now. Once we receive an update from FDOT on that, we'll provide an update to you all, maybe a presentation. But there's also some additional study work scheduled for fiscal year 2027. Local initiative program, so the other competitive grant program we have. Upcoming projects for 2024. We have 3 of those: West Palm Beach, Delray, and Palm Tran. This is the first programming. They applied back in 2019. So Palm Tran is going to receive funds here coming up for electric buses and charging stations. So they'll be rolling those out. They also have a few lined up throughout the TIP in following years. So this is the first time you'll be seeing those. And then the projects that were prioritized on our list of priority projects that have not yet been programmed, there are 6 of those. Those will, based on the discussion from the board, you'll see those remain at the top of the priority list for the LI program when you see the list of priority projects come to us in July. But we're working with FDOT on a few of these, trying to figure out ways to find funding and get these program more quickly when we can. Here's an example of a more recent one that just opened. So this is the bridge opening happened this year, earlier this year. This is the Brant Drive bridge over going from Delray into Boca Raton. Good turnout for this one. Has large shared use paths, full replacement of the bridge. So turned out to be a really great project. And there's a lot of other connecting projects in this area over the next few years. Transportation alternatives. We have 4 projects coming up for construction in 2024 in West Palm, Boynton, Palm Beach County, in the Westgate area, and then Palm Tran. And then there's the 4 projects that are programmed for construction, new ones in fiscal year 2026. ITID, Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm, and Royal Palm. Here's an example of some of those transportation alternatives projects. This is one completed in 2021, FPL pathway lining for Royal Palm Beach. And so that's really the highlights. Just a few more slides here, but other new projects to have on your radar. Resurfacing jobs, lots of resurfacing coming up from FDOT. These are the new ones, so there's already ones in the program. With these, and along with bridge products that might be replaced, these are ones where we can, FDOT works with the locals, works with the TPA to ensure we're bringing in, their review and what they want to see for those areas. So they try to fit additional needs out there for the community as they're doing those resurfacing jobs. Roadway extension, Flavor Picks Road from Lyons to Hagen Ranch. This has money programmed for fiscal year 28. This is a county project. It received some state funding as well. And that's the one going over the turnpike. So a big project there as well. So that's the summary for you. Again, this is going to be coming again back to you next month for final adoption. Our website has the full document if you want to find more details on that. We also have a link there that can go to our online map. With that map, we've mapped out all the projects and provided a status update. So you can go there and try to find more products in your area. And then also with that, I wanted to mention, this is where when you provide your local products to us, we can put them into this as reference. So we'll map them out for you and put them on our map. There's also an appendices on the website. So it gets more into details about the public participation process, and any comments we receive for that will be updated there. Performance measures and what products goes towards meeting performance measures. And there's a fiscal analysis that we will begin working on and be ready by next month. And so for today, obviously we could discuss projects, but as you work through this, if there's any ways to improve the clarity of the document long-term, any corrections we need to make. And again, we really would like to make this a comprehensive document and that online map be a full resource for citizens and for you all. So if you can have your staff reach out to us, if you have a capital improvement program and you want us to put those transportation projects in there, we'll do that.
That was great, Andrew. I have one thing I need to go back and do a housekeeping for our consent. We got the motion from Mayor Flores and a second by Vice Mayor Napoleon, and I need to say all in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, sorry, Robert's rules, got to make sure you do that. Okay, Maria's going to vote. Go ahead. All in favor. Okay, she's in favor. All right, so I apologize for that. So first of all, that the summary of the TPA priority slide is probably, I think, one of the most important ones. That was extraordinary. And the clarity that you provided in this presentation was wonderful. I think I don't see a whole lot of cards popping up. Do we have any public comment?
No, Madam Chair, I would like to note for the record that Commissioner Marino has joined the meeting.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go on to our board. I see that Commissioner Diaz has a card up. Go ahead, please, sir.
Thank you for that, Andrew. I have, just out of curiosity, because over the last few years, I think a lot of us have been blindsided, for the lack of a better word, on the amount of electric bikes, e-bikes that are available, and the sales of which have been astronomical. And I'm just curious, like, how that new demand or those new planning challenges are there any examples in some of these design phases where that has been like kind of resulted in a quick change or a quick design change?
That's a very good question and not my skill set there, right? So, thinking about how we design our roadways, both at the county and state level, and the design criteria meeting those needs, we'd have to follow up on that one unless Valerie, you have anything.
Basically trying to provide the bicycle and pedestrian facilities. In most cases, these, if a municipality is allowing a private company to provide bike share or scooters, they usually work out an agreement with them and they might provide designated areas for them they might transform an on-street parking spot to be a designated parking zone for those vehicles. And if the users don't deposit or return the vehicle at one of those locations, they're charged extra or so forth. But those kind of details are more worked out at the municipal level with whoever's allowing those companies to be providing those vehicles. In terms of our projects and our municipal and county projects, the more we can provide complete streets with bicycle facilities, sidewalks, connections, scooters and e-bikes are also considered like regular bikes vehicles. So in most cases, cities are asking those scooters and e-bikes to ride in the bike lanes, or if it's a small lower speed street in the road. So unfortunately that gets into more, obviously our planning is longer term and more infrastructure. So it gets more into the day-to-day operations with the municipalities. However, we are considering that as part of these emerging technologies as part of our long-range transportation plan update, and how do we integrate that into the longer term planning of things.
Thank you. Yeah, because I was, definitely more thinking about the consumer e-bikes, because you can get, super nice ones with really nice Samsung batteries for like $800 now, which is unheard of. And so at least in our community, I'm sure in a lot of smaller towns too, the rise of e-bikes, and we also have kind of like a niche group of golf carts also rising up, and it's, we need to be able to adapt quickly. I know the long range, it's really important to get that on a long range plan. I know it's really exciting to talk about things like, self-driving cars and things like that, but those are just tomorrow problems. And these are, we've been asking for things like protected bike lanes for an eternity. And I think e-bikes are just compounding that ask and making it even more of a emergency, if you will, because we've had our own incidents as well, usually with pedestrians. But thank you.
And I know actually Mayor Weiss had reached out a few months ago asking kind of for more information about that as well. We can continue to look into best practices and any even resources for local municipalities and share that with the board as well. But, and I'm excited, and it's great. It's broken ground. The first ever separated bike lane on an FDOT road in our county on Lake Worth Road, which was a collaboration between the municipalities and the TPA and FDOT. One of our highest crash corridors, Lake Worth Road through the village of Palm Springs there near the college. Also working with Palm Trent, it's going to have separated bike lanes, it's going to have shared use paths, and it's going to have a level boarding for transit, a partnership with Palm Trent as well. Very exciting. It's broken ground already. We're really excited for that to be completed. It'll be a game changer since that's one of our highest crash corridors, had no bike lanes before, very narrow sidewalks, and it's introducing a mid-block crossing. It was a resurfacing project that we identified, and we were able to collaborate and supplement. I know Green Acres participated as well in that discussion. So
And actually, we should all be filling out the National Bike Month survey that the TPA put out. It's out there. We have till May 31st. Melissa, you can correct me if I don't know anything, or maybe we can share that because it does ask questions about this specifically, as well as areas for comment. And it's also another great place to use the TPA comment map, right? So if you're a resident and you're, walking on the sidewalk and an e-bike buzzes you from behind, that's the kind of thing that the TPA also wants to hear about. And those are things that we can have effectual change with input as well. So everybody on this board, please make sure you fill out the bike survey. It's on the TPA website. It was also in the Transportation Tuesday newsletter, and I'm sure it's going to be on every social media, everything as well. And encourage that your residents please also fill it out, or anyone else on your commissions. All right, so we're going to move on to Mayor Flores and then Mayor Kretsky, please.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring something up. Perhaps that's not on the tip, or that we need to start looking forward and ahead. One of the things that we continue to see, and driving here today, I saw it and I continue to see it, is usually in the past around May, June, we start see traffic be a little bit less. And I'm not seeing that in the last couple of years, and traffic continues to be building up. I think what we're seeing here in this county is that we are becoming very attractive. We're continuing to build more affordable housing, workforce housing, and this is all happening usually in the western part of the county. And accessibility is extremely tough to 95 or to the Turnpike. Southern with the flyovers, I think, does a great job, but I think we need to start considering what's going to happen in the future with, especially with what the state just passed, where I'm expecting more developers to come into the county now that it's a little easier for them to get their projects through based on that new law that they just passed. So, I want this body to start thinking about how do we connect the western communities to the major thoroughfares, where it's 95 or the Turnpike. The Turnpike it's also becoming overwhelming when you, especially on Lake Worth, they're having some construction there. But I think right now it's the traffic. It's a lot in that part of the Turnpike where it's only 2 lanes. But we also, I guess, I would also like to see more on-ramps onto the Turnpike. So how do we work that? Because if you live in Green Acres, Wellington, you have to either go north to Southern, or you have to go down to Lake Worth. I think we need to see other alternatives, but we also need to start moving that traffic from the future growth. Let's see, we're projecting where all these people are going to start living. How do we connect them to their jobs? And how do we get them to be able to move from the western communities down to 95? So that's something that I would like to start bringing up in the near future.
I think Andrew navigated us. Thank you to the slide. We do have in the work program several widening projects with new ramps along the Turnpike here shown on the screen, and that's their phases of design and construction. But in addition to that, as we heard this morning from some municipalities like West Palm Beach and Boca, several municipalities are looking at what mobility options there are, and then tying that into our plan for the 561 plan, those corridors. We're planning to study Forest Hill and Lake Worth Road with Palm Trent for enhanced transit, creating those mobility hubs, and Palm Trans looking at mobility zones that would be on demand for those less dense areas to get you to a point of an express bus or other type of express service. So looking at multiple options, not in addition to capacity for roadways, but also moving people more efficiently with enhanced transit. So thank you.
All right, great. Mayor, did you have anything, Andrew? or-
I would just add, there is that, for new interchanges, there's a study for Hypoluxo. So that's one, and there's that Flavor Picked Road project over the turnpike. So another east-west connection that the county's doing, but it's a point well taken.
Great slide, by the way. I am loving the project slides, how they're broken down right now. It's really excellent. Thank you. All right, Mayor Koretsky.
I just thought, thank you for bringing up the topic on the electrical bikes. I do think we should, I've always, certainly in recent years, more observed vehicular conflicts between pedestrian and bicyclists because of our accountability here in this organization to deal with that. And I have recently paid attention to one aspect of electric bikes is to some degree, they seem to be approaching motorcycles and they go faster. You really have to adjust. I found myself realizing I had to adjust. It wasn't a bicycle in the lane. It was somebody motorcycle going faster, and it makes a difference. Particularly, in my case, I was going to be making a right turn and I was trying to judge, whether you just go a lot slower, let them get through the intersection, still a distance off and not, but I think it's an excellent point. I think that it's bringing about a change that, quite frankly, probably has to be addressed in design. Anyway.
All right. Thank you, Mayor Koretsky. Mayor Weiss.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job, Andrew. Question though, in looking at the Tri-Rail North project, have we ever gotten a cost from FEC on the access, what the access is going to cost?
We had a subcommittee from this board a couple of years ago looking into that. Until we have a local funding source, they haven't really been willing or interested in talking about an access fee to be until we actually have that match to run the service. However, Broward and Miami-Dade County are moving forward. They have that match. They have a surtax, but they've entered into agreements with FEC, and we've requested that they come to our next board meeting and provide an update on their commuter rail service along FEC. So looking forward to that presentation. But the answer to your question is, it is a private rail company, private right away. We approached them. To ask, and this was a couple of years ago, and they weren't really interested in talking at the time.
So I'm more concerned I'm interested because I know you're talking about the entire length of running it all the way down.
Mhm.
This is for that northern link. Have you bifurcated that and just had a discussion with them on that? Because I think there's money on the tip now to move forward on the northern link.
So we have a placeholder, and we've had it for a while in the tip for just design, and it continues to move forward until we have that funding source as a match. We won't be able to prioritize capital. The TPA is finishing a study on just kind of updating capital and operation costs, and we're providing that to SFRTA. But as a whole, as a county, the community is going to have to kind of figure out a local match for those capital dollars, and then have the discussion with the private right-of-way owner to negotiate an agreement.
All right. So that's just it's just a placeholder in there. Got it.
It's a
Okay.
placeholder until something's on the ballot that the voters would find palatable for
Okay,
a matching
thanks.
funding source
I
or
got it.
transportation surtax. Maria, go ahead.
Thank you. Actually, I was on that committee, so I will pipe in. One of the reasons we tabled it was because we weren't getting any information back from FEC and from Brightline at the time. So we felt that our continuing to have meetings when we didn't really have answers was not going to go anywhere. So without the funding and without the cooperation of FEC and Brightline, the meetings ended.
Go ahead.
I will just note that Brightline has reached out and they said, you know, when they're happy to collaborate with us, whenever we get to that point, then we're ready to have a conversation and have money at the table. So. Yeah,
Yeah.
have the match, serious match to come to the table to, you know, because at this point, talking about it, those costs could change. They're just all hypothetical.
Right.
And they've been focused really on extending that service to Orlando. So that's been their primary focus right now.
Absolutely. And, you know, this elephant in the room that is the transportation surtax that doesn't exist is something that we all spend our days wrapping our brains around because Miami-Dade has it, Broward has it, and we're considered one traveling public in the southeast area. And so a lot of it sort of ends when it hits Palm Beach County. And I think that's what we will keep on bumping our heads into again and again. So anyway, I don't see any other cards. Anything else? All right, Andrew, excellent presentation. Valerie, did you have anything else for enclosure?
Just wanted to mention that we are working and we're finalizing our summary report from our Austin Peer Exchange, but we are working and things are moving forward with discussions with Palm Tran, with Tri-Rail. West Palm Beach now has is establishing they have a West Palm Beach Go, but kind of a committee of various partners talking about with the economic development community, talking about, you know, how do we move this conversation forward? Obviously, the TPA can't legally be that match or lead that surtax. However, more and more partners are getting at the table and Palm Tran is, we actually have a call next week, but we are working on aligning efforts and our consultant work orders to really come up with those cost estimates and what would that look like. So.
That's great news. Thank you so much for all your encouragement. So moving on, I'm excited about this. We have our Port St. Lucie Express survey result. So we're going to have Yash Nagal from Palm Trans. He's the interim director of transit planning to present this item.
And actually a new announcement, he was just named the director, so no longer.
Oh my
interim.
gosh,
So
this is great.
congratulations.
Congratulations, well deserved. We really enjoy working with you.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity for us to be here and present this topic to you. Before we jump into this, we talked a lot about fatalities today. I just wanted to bring this forward too, that there's a lot of data in the literature that goes into how investments in good transit systems, usable transit systems are, you know, helpful in reducing the fatalities in the cities. Which when we think about it, you know, it works out because it helps reduce the cars that are on the street. It gets people on a shared mode. So talking about good usable transit systems, I'm going to jump now into the presentation that I have. I'm very excited to bring this update forward to all of you about our Port St. Lucie Express. Oh, there you go. So this is just went too far. So for our agenda today, I wanted to give everybody a background of what the service is, how it came to be. We'll do a short video of the actual park and ride facility. So you get to see what the facility on Gatlin Boulevard in Port St. Lucie looks like. We'll talk about the service delivery, which is what kind of buses do we want to use when we get to that point. We'll look at one of the peer agencies down in Broward who's actually doing it right now. They have the express routes, and then we'll get into our next steps and discussions. So starting in, the service will begin from the intermodal transit facility in West Palm Beach that we have today, sort of the shared facility with Tri-Rail that we have where a lot of our routes go. It will be bi-directional travel. So it would have 2 trips in the morning, 2 trips in the evening. It takes about an hour to get there, 50 miles approximately to get there. The approximate service band that we're shooting for to align with the workforce is 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. in the morning, and then in the evening, about 5:30 to 8:30. And we'll go into what we found in our survey too, about what the start and end times were. And to operate this service at the frequency that we're proposing, we would need 3 buses, coach style. 2 of these would be in service, and then we would need 1 to actually have as a spare or sort of a backup. So the initial grant funding that we would have from FDOT would be for 3 years. Approximately, the service would be around $350 to $400 per 400,000 per year operational, and then the cost of the buses would be about around 2 to 2.5 for all 3 buses. Since this service is going through downtown West Palm Beach, we wanted to coordinate with the partners, the other partners that are in the area. So we wanted to match up our schedules as much as possible with the Tri-Rail schedule, with the Brightline schedule, The trolley schedule at the time, actually, if the trolley is now on demand, it makes our lives a lot easier because then we don't have to match up the schedule really. And then, of course, our transportation planning agency partners here too. So obviously I did not make that video. The dramatic music does not match my personality. So I want to give credit to Christian, our Director of Support Services, for making the video and then, putting the presentation together. Some of the features of the park and ride facilities, there's 162 spaces, 6 berths for the buses to get in, 6 electric vehicle spaces, and then they have the motorcycle parking, bicycle racks, the normal features that you would see at a park and ride facility. So we also wanted to understand what the public thought of this service, if they wanted this service or not. So we put out a survey out there. We used social media. We took help from our partners in the downtown region to push out the survey to their employees. So we got help from the TPA, obviously, West Palm Beach County pushed out the survey too with the help of our marketing and their marketing coordination. And then we pushed out another survey to our Palm Trend employees. Our target for statistical significance was around 840. So we got 905 responses. Shortly after that, we closed the survey because we thought it was significant at that point. The highest classification that we saw in terms of household income from the respondents was more than 75,000, which for this type of service actually is really good. So we're very happy to see that. We also looked at the work start times and work end times. Not a lot of surprising data here because in the morning we saw that the largest group was 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., which traditionally is very common. And then the end time is 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And we're going to try and match up our schedules as much as possible to this so people have the convenience of actually using this service. We also wanted to find out what they thought of transit in general and what they thought of this service too. So we asked them if we asked the respondents if they had ever used transit before. 66% said yes. And then we also asked them how likely were they to use this service, and 63% of that, which is a high number, said that they're very likely to use the service. And then we had 27% saying maybe, and then we had 10% saying not likely. Talking in terms of how we're going to deliver this service, this would be a commuter type service. So the buses are a little bit different. They have coach style seating, which is a lot more comfortable than your regular seating that you have on a fixed route bus. It seats about 50 people. They would have ADA ramps and things of that nature. We would want to spec it with at least everything that we have on our fixed route system. So we have Wi-Fi's, the screens that we have up there, USB plugs. So those can be added on as additional configuration. That's not a problem. But really, we want to make this something that, if the passengers take it from Port St. Lucie, they're able to comfortably be in that spot for an hour because it's a longer ride. And if they wanted to work, on the bus, they can do that too. Our target date for, the target date we're shooting for right now is sort of next year, winter, which is sort of January or February. It's hard to define winter in Florida. And then the potential, the proposed segment or proposed alignment that we have actually goes through both the trial station, Brightline, and then it also tries to get you close to the core of the downtown area so that people can actually get to their offices faster. And then we also have, connections to 9 fixed route, Palm Trend fixed routes at the intermodal facility if they wanted to connect and go somewhere else in the county. or they can connect to Tri-Rail and go further down south. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for people. And then the intermodal facility downtown also has parking spaces, so you could do the reverse commute if you wanted to park here and then go up into Port St. Lucie. That's possible too. One peer agency that we looked at was Broward County. They have 3 express routes on I-95. They have pretty good ridership. For this route, 1497 trips. And then their fare structure is one way, $2.65. For 10 rides, that's $26. For a 31-day pass, it's $95. For our next steps, because this would be a public transportation grant agreement from the FDOT, we will take it to our board. Of course, they would have to approve it. If that gets approved, we would have to then go into the procurement of these buses because there are different type buses that we don't have today. If that's successful, we'll move into the robust public outreach campaign, do a lot of marketing because it's a new service. And then if everything goes well, the implementation date would be in January or February of next year. With that, I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks so much. All right, I see some cards popping up already. We'll start with Mayor Koretsky and move on to Commissioner Bernard, please. And then Commissioner Fox and then Woodward.
This one had come up at a previous meeting. I had expressed, I'm personally excited about it because we're very familiar with the Gatlin area. I have families lived up there for 3 decades. I saw that park and ride going in and immediately knew it should be tapped because, you know, in Jupiter, we have a significant percentage of our workforce that live in Port St. Lucie. So in that area and other areas. So the one thing, great starting point here, but I wish it also would stop by major employment centers north of West Palm. So I realize you have to start somewhere, but really this could be effective. It kind of addresses workforce housing affordability because that's where people are living anyway. A lot of our workforce, you know, this is accommodating them. So again, I'm excited about it. Not a negative critique, but think about it. You're going 50 miles, you know, that's a significant, even how it's priced, it's a significant value for people that happen to be the beneficiary southern end of, you know, where that goes. But it really wouldn't be practical to serve, in my mind, Jupiter because you're going all the West Palm to come back up again. So I'm hopeful that, you know, this kind of gets looked at and could be expanded at some time. That's my ask. Thank you.
So in our study, we actually did look at other locations too. The reason for the pilot that we only showed this one was because the facility was already built. But we do have, in our actual study, we do have, I want to say Indiantown, around Indiantown was one of the spots that we looked at. But because there was no park and ride facility today, we didn't really, you know, proceed with that idea. But we're going to keep that in mind because we do understand that there are employment centers as you go down.
Excellent. All right. Commissioner Bernard, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question. In regards to, I saw that in Miramar, you said that they have the 10 trip pass and a monthly. Will you also consider to do the 10 trip pass and also monthly passes also?
So we haven't decided on a fare structure yet, but yes, we would definitely consider that. We also have Paradise Pass that does fabulous fare capping. So that would become, you know, essentially a part of that too, is once you've sort of paid that amount, it automatically updates you towards a pass. But that is a great idea.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Fox, please.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. And I would love to work with you, you know, when you get closer to talk about the circuits or whatever downtown to help you move people around to the next stop. But my question was, how did you choose this route? For example, like we're talking about the light rail, maybe many years from now that might go from Wellington downtown. So I love the idea of an executive coach where people have Wi-Fi, comfortable seats. I mean, would something like this work on that route? Or how did you determine to start, I guess, with Port St. Lucie?
So we were actually approached by FDOT because they had done previously analysis on the commuter population that was coming from there to here. And then when they reached out, this is sort of how we, work from there.
Anything else, Commissioner Fox? All right, lovely. All right, Commissioner Woodward, please.
Yes, thank you for this presentation. I was looking forward to it. My question is, I know that we have some grant funding to get this started and the first few years are already considered. Has there been discussion with Port St. Lucie and even Martin counties as far as future funding for this? So that it doesn't fall just on Palm Beach County?
We've had the discussions before. That was one of our options for having the sustainable, once the service is that point, have the sustainability plan. We haven't had anything concrete yet, but we hope to continue those discussions because we definitely understand that, they're a key partner in this and they're utilizing the service too. So that is a great point, and we'll continue to have those discussions too. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We're going to move on to Commissioner Marino. Commissioner Bernard, is your card back up again? Or, okay, great, no worries. Thank you, sir. All right, Commissioner Marino, please.
Okay, I'm going to be negative, Nellie. I think it's a great plan. FDOT needs to fund it. Your slide said BCC grant, which means our taxpayers pay for it, correct?
It is an FDOT grant. That was for the approval process because we would have to take the grant to BCC.
After this is over, after the
Oh,
FDOT
yes.
grant is over, are you looking to the BCC to fund this, the Board of County Commissioners? Because I would not be in favor of funding this 100% without Port St. Lucie funding this, because we're helping both communities and this is on FDOT roadway. So that would be my observation.
The couple of options that we've talked about to sustain the funding have been one would be the FDOT to find a continued funding source from FDOT, maybe get it from, the managed lane projects that they have on 95, because this is going to operate on 95. And then the other one was to work with Port St. Lucie and the counties that are up there.
I see three funding sources, not just one. I don't see the Board of County Commissioners funding 100% of this. So FDOT would need to be a main contributor because it's their roadways that are being impacted. And I do see St. Lucie County being a partner with the county. Otherwise, if it's all on the Board of County Commissioners' shoulders, that's a big no from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and I didn't see any public comment. Have we had any yet? Okay, we've got a card back up. Commissioner Woodward.
Yes, I would encourage actually Martin County participation just because they will be benefiting from less travel, less congestion on 95 that goes through. So if all of these people are traveling from Port St. Lucie through Martin to here, and we're going to be removing 100 cars potentially, I think that we could ask them for some help too. My suggestion.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Palmtran, for taking this on and FDOT for considering it. It is obviously something that merits more conversation, but thank you so much. It was a great survey. It was really easy to access, and I'm so delighted that you actually got great responses that you can have actionable use of. So that's wonderful. Any other questions before we go forward? Thanks, Yash.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Let's see. So we're going to move on. Do we have any other partner agencies wanting to provide an update today? All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to our administrative items. These are information only to the board. No staff presentations of these items are required unless requested. I know, nice and short. Do we have any public comments on our informational items?
No, Madam Chair.
Or administrative items? Okay, so we're going to, let's see. Does anyone need any more information regarding any of the administrative items that were on the agenda, such as public activity reports, FDOT scheduling, anything like that? No other questions? All right, so I just want to say, I'm giving you guys action items. Let's all ride transit in the next month so that we have some wonderful photographs to share and get to really understand the schedules, getting on Tri-Rail, experiencing it, getting on Palmtran. And we'll be voting on the tip in June. So make sure if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to Andrew or Heather, to Valerie, of course. And then please also, the bike survey ends on May 31st. It's a wonderful opportunity to bring in some of this conversation about e-bikes in a place where we can survey it and utilize that data to help our residents. So with that, our next meeting will be on June 15th, and I am going to adjourn. Thank you all for coming.
You too.